Well, that fun theme song today called Red Hot Mama by Liberty is in honor of Vega, a beautiful red-tailed hawk ambassador I met in northern Michigan. Vega and her handler, my guest today, helped celebrate our 100th episode. Yay! So a huge thank you and hug to you all who have helped me get through this journey and support my efforts and encourage me to continue to share these amazing stories of our conservation heroes. I am Marcia Civic, and this is BeProvided Conservation Radio. Today's show is about raptors and raptor rehabilitation. But before I introduce my guest today, I'm going to give you a little bird call quiz to see if you can identify the raptors in the next two soundtracks. After you hear them, press pause and send me a comment on this show note page at www.beprovided.com as to what you think these calls are from. To help celebrate my 100th episode, for the first person who gets both of them right, yes, both of them, and sends me a message by posting the answer in the comments section on the show note page, which will also be dated in time so I know who is first, I will send you a copy of Tim Bately's book, The Bird-Friendly City, published by Island Press. And Tim was a guest on my show not too long ago, so you can also listen to his podcast. I think that this book is a book that all bird lovers need and should have as a guide to create a safe haven for birds in our neighborhoods. The next 4 correct answers will get 1 4x6 photo each of our educational raptor ambassadors, Vega and Sprocket. You can see images of them in our show notes as well. Okay, so here is the first call. I'm going to play it, and here you go. Okay, if you got that, that's great. If you need to listen again, just, backtrack on the audio a little bit and replay it. So, okay, here is the second call. All right, let me know what you think. I'm excited to see what we get as comments and answers to this. So hopefully you all have that. I think the first one was kind of easy, but remember you have to get both of them right. So, well, now to my special guest on my special show today, I'm happy to introduce Kaitlyn Bohnet, the Executive Director and Co-founder of North Sky Raptor Sanctuary, located near my hometown of Traverse City, Michigan. Kaitlyn and her board vice president, Michelle or Shelly Sisson-Burden, helped celebrate our 100th episode in person with a wonderful educational presentation to my friends and family. They let us meet 2 special ambassadors in person, and that is Vega, the red-tailed hawk, and Sprocket, a northern saw-whet owl. We learned a ton about raptors and rehabilitation of raptors, and Kaitlyn was so gracious after her long day and presentation to let me chat with her for a few more minutes so I could share some raptor information with you all. This was a special treat not only because it is the 100th episode, but I was able to physically be there with friends and family and share my love of raptors with them all. And I have so much gratitude to Kaitlyn and Shelly and North Sky Raptor Sanctuary for the work that they're doing and for spending this evening with us. It was such a special treat. So enjoy my conversation with Kaitlyn Bohnet of the North Sky Raptor Sanctuary.
My name is Kaitlyn Bohnet, and I am the Executive Director and Co-founder of North Sky Raptor Sanctuary.
That is great. And you are located in?
Interlochen, Michigan.
Awesome. Yeah. And thank you. We're sitting in a beautiful outdoor setting, and I guess it's close to Interlochen or near the Platte River in Michigan. And we just saw a wonderful presentation from you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All about raptors. So can you tell us a little bit of what you do with raptors?
Yeah, so our main focus is rehabilitation, but we do offer educational outreach programs, and we like to focus on actionable conservation moments for the average citizen.
Terrific. And so it's you and your husband. You're
Yep.
both the co-founders of the sanctuary, and it's primarily you two doing a lot of this work, correct?
Yeah, that is correct. We have an amazing board of directors, so they do a lot of the organizing for us and make sure that we are kind of moving forward in the correct direction and don't get bogged down with the day-to-day things. But yeah, as far as the day-to-day things, that would be me and my husband running the show.
That's a lot. And raptors, I assume, are very challenging for day to day. I mean, they're carnivores.
They do come with their own set of risks, but those challenges are also learning opportunities for us, and that's part of the appeal a little bit to me. So yeah, I also like knowing where the business end is and having that part on the glove all the time, as opposed to, the beak being the business end. That for some reason is a little more intimidating to me, if I'm being honest.
It took me a second to realize the business end.
Yeah.
So that's great. Yeah. And how did you get involved with this line of work?
Yeah, it's a fun story. Yeah. I was on my way to my then pretty tame day job, and I was listening to NPR on my way there, and they did a segment on falconry, which I thought was just in my side of the mountain and fairy tales. And when I found out that was real, I did a deep dive. I thought that was super cool, having in this case, a red-tailed hawk as a hunting partner and hunting squirrels and rabbits through the winter, and then, releasing that bird with a whole new, so that way it would be successful in the future. That just between the personal passion project it would be and a conservation effort, that ticked a lot of boxes for me. So I did a deep dive, and I did all the research that I thought was possible before explaining to my husband that this very weird, very expensive hobby that I wanted to embark on was going to impact our lives. I thought maybe I should figure out if I was afraid of them first, because I had never been that close to a raptor of that size.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I started volunteering with a local rehab facility, and here I am, still not a falconer, but now I do get to work with birds and do educational outreach programs, and I have friends who are falconers, so it's close, but not quite the same.
Yeah, you get to see a variety of birds come your way, so
Yes.
That's kind of a bonus too. So interesting. So do you have any background? Are you a biologist by background, or what is your background? I guess?
Sure, yeah. I am not a biologist by trade. I started school thinking that I was going in to be a med student, and partway through my education, I did some math on a spreadsheet and panicked, so switched focuses into business more than to medicine, because I was a little worried about how many zeros were before the comma. So switch focuses there, but I've always been very science driven, and so with this opportunity, it just seemed right.
Interesting. Yeah, I kind of ask on my own personal interest too, because I'm always like, how does one get involved with this? I would love to do what you do,
Sure. It starts with volunteering.
Yeah. So
it really does.
Volunteering at rehab centers and just getting your feet wet.
Absolutely. So. And, once you start with that, then obviously there are options for continued education. And for the permits that we hold, we have to do a certain amount of credit hours each year. So it's not stagnant, because there's always new medical information coming out. There's always new research coming out. There's always new training techniques coming out. So they want to make sure that we're on top of those things as well. And it doesn't just because what was true once isn't necessarily always the best practices going forward. So they keep us accredited by keeping us educated.
That's great. Mm-hmm. And so you mentioned just for a couple of the birds we saw tonight, you could get up to how many different permits to handle those birds?
So I believe we have 8.
Okay.
And that is for the birds, for the artifacts that we worked with, for our rehabilitation efforts, and then threatened and endangered species. And then you double all of those, because there's one permit for the states and one permit for the feds.
Gotcha. And how long ago was it when you started North Star Sanctuary?
Sure. So we founded North Sky Raptor 3 years ago. And yeah, we hit the ground running faster than we thought we were going to. We thought we were going to ease into it, and no such luck.
Is that because of the number of birds coming
yes,
in? Yeah.
Yes. All of a sudden, like we just were full all the time.
Unfortunately,
for a while.
there was a market.
There was a need.
Yeah.
There was a need indeed. But it's good that we're here. I'm glad that we are as busy as we are. But yeah, there's not very many breaks. But we do it slows down a little in the winter. So we do more like classroom stuff and educational stuff with kids in the winter time. But that's more predictable.
Yeah.
Like, for example, we're getting an injured bird delivered here in about 15 minutes.
We'll keep an eye out for that.
Indeed.
Yeah. Oh, that's sad. So that brings me to ask you, I know in the program you mentioned this, but our other listeners didn't hear.
Sure.
How do birds come to you? What is the most common type of injury that you see? Or
Yeah. There's a lot to unpack there. So we are listed as licensed rehabilitators through the Michigan DNR website. So that there's a spreadsheet and we're listed by county and then speciality. So people find us either there or they call 911 dispatch and then they call us, or they call the DNR and then they either, if they're close, kind of pick up the bird, handle triage, and then transport the bird to us. And our most common cases, the through line on the cases, would be hit by vehicle. Evolution hasn't quite caught up to innovation, a human innovation. So they're not quite as fast. They don't see, us coming all the time. And, they like free meals too, and free meals end up on the side of the road sometimes.
So that's what they're getting. Yeah, I was always surprised to hear how many are killed. I would think window strikes would be like one of the number one, but I'm learning that car strikes are very up there.
Yeah, I think window strikes are pretty high for non-predatory raptors or non-predatory birds, excuse me. But with
like
raptors, because they're predatory and there's carrion on the side of the road, I mean, that's like McDonald's.
Yeah.
It's free, it's easy, it's really fast, and there's a lot less energy that goes into it than making a full meal yourself at home.
Interesting. So you mentioned earlier there's different classifications. Like, what makes a raptor a raptor?
Sure.
Because they all look so different. I mean, you have vultures that are raptors, you have owls, you have hawks. They're all different looking in some way.
Absolutely. So raptors catch their food with their feet. So that is the distinction. So birds that catch their food with their feet qualify as raptors.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't realize vultures did that. I just did a previous interview and I learned that. That was interesting.
Yeah, vultures are in that like gray area where they eat meat, mostly meat that's already been dead.
Yeah.
They don't really have talons, but I guess we'll make them raptors, right? Like they don't have very strong feet. Their feet look like chicken feet, honestly. But yeah, they're classified as like raptor-ish. But for anyone who's dealing with raptors, most of their other systems are the same. And so medically, it works that they're in the raptor camp as opposed to, I don't know, parrot camp.
Wow. Nice. Yeah. And what other features you mentioned beaks earlier?
Yeah, so raptors have talons. They catch their food with their feet, and then they have sharp beaks that hook downward, and that helps them tear their food into small swallowable bits.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
And I know I'm bringing in pieces of your show, your little presentation, but you mentioned osprey have like little barbs.
Yeah, they have osprey and eagles catch fish, so their feet have the texture of a cat's tongue.
Oh, interesting.
So it's very sandpapery and raspy, and it helps them hold onto those fish as they transport them to shore.
Oh, nice. Do you have a favorite raptor?
I have a favorite education bird. Her name is Vega, and she's a red tail. I think she's the best. It's pretty much, I have a soft spot for one of the birds in care at any given time. Right now, we have an osprey in care, and they're notoriously picky eaters, and sometimes they don't like to eat in captivity. This little dude is eating in captivity, and I don't know, I think he's stolen my heart. He looks like a Muppet. So right now I have a soft spot for him. Next week it might be somebody else.
So you get these birds into rehab. What is your success rate? I mean, is it pretty positive getting these birds back into the wild, or do they end up going, I'm probably two questions here,
Sure.
Going into like another like zoo or facility like that?
Yeah, the numbers fluctuate because every case is different. If a bird makes it through the first 48 hours with us, I think our release rate is 60%, around 60%, which is incredible. I believe the national average, we shoot for 30% total, including the first 48, but it's really tough. So when we get a bird in, that doesn't make it within the first 48 hours, there was nothing we could do. But if it makes it past the first 48, our numbers go way up. So yeah, and we try to make every bird that's releasable, obviously, released back into the wild. We make sure that that's the priority. If the animal is not releasable and it's deemed qualified to be in human care without elevated stress levels, then we do our best for placement. Placing more common birds like red-tailed hawks is very difficult because they're more common. They get hit by cars a lot, and, well, everybody and their brother can have one, in the industry. So it's harder to place them because they're so common. But we placed a snowy owl, and it was not at all difficult to place him. The biggest thing was placing him, choosing what facility to place him at, because everybody wanted him.
Oh, they're gorgeous.
They're gorgeous, and he was just a very special case. So, we were partial to him, and now he lives in air conditioning and probably has a better home setup than I do, but that's all right. That's all right.
They deserve that.
I think he does.
Yeah. So I was just going to ask, you just shared a success story with the snowy owl, and any other fun success stories that come to your mind?
I can tell you about one that's happening this week. So we had a call, I would say 2 or 3 days ago, about a red tail that was hit by a truck. And I got the call from 911 dispatch, which is strange. Usually they just tell the people to call me. But the 911 dispatcher on the phone she was entertained by this situation, let's say.
Oh, interesting.
So she calls me, and she, identifies herself and goes, so I have an individual on the other line who has a hawk stuck on their truck. And I was like, okay, sometimes that happens between the grill and, the bumper. So I'm kind of asking her questions. She goes, no, on it. I was like on top? And she's like, he said on it. I was like, okay.
Wasn't
right. And she's like, it's very much alive, he says, very much alive. And I was like, okay. Just put him through. Whatever it is, I'm interested, put him through. And it turns out it wasn't like a regular truck, it was like a big box truck. So, and it was stuck between the cab and the box. Yeah. So it had missed the cab of the truck over the windshield, hit the box, and then slid down, and it was pinned between there.
It was literally stuck
on the truck. So I had to climb on top, use a ladder, climb on top of the cab, reach my hand down, fish this poor bird out, who is freaked out. And, is a juvenile red tail. He's probably been on his own for 2 weeks.
Oh, poor
the
thing.
Guys who hit him were heartbroken because they're like, he did so good. He had something in his feet, and we thought we missed him, and then we hurt him.
Oh, no.
It's oh, that's terrible. So this poor guy, caught something, was super excited about it, flew across the road just at the wrong time, and got hit by this truck. Good news is he just had some bruising and was totally freaked out. He's
terrific.
Releasable. We've flight tested him. He's great, and we hope that he's going to be released on Friday.
Oh, awesome.
So, quick turnaround. We love these stories, and very dramatic.
Yes, that's amazing. And I read on your social media, I believe on Facebook, that you do invite people to releases. Is that true?
Absolutely.
So people can come view this.
Yeah, as long as we can get the bird to a place where it's appropriate for it to be released, and it's public land.
Access, yeah.
Yep. So obviously we're not going to invite 200 people to some poor, lady's private property. But if we can do the release back back to where the animal came from.
So you
and
try
there's
to take it back.
I do.
Makes
Just because
sense.
they're a little bit more comfortable with that hunting area. If they're juveniles, and if they're adults, that is established hunting area.
Yeah.
So if there's a public park nearby and there's plenty of parking, because we don't want to get in trouble with people parking illegally. But as long as it's a viable option, absolutely. Because what other opportunities do you have to get that close to such an amazing animal?
Right, right. Wow, you are so passionate. So I want to ask about your tattoo on your arm. Is that a hawk?
It
so
is.
We're looking at this beautiful tattoo. Oh, that's gorgeous.
So Vega is our...
Oh, is that Vega?
It is, yeah. It's our ambassador raptor, and she is the first bird that I started training and saw her on her intake day and then trained her all the way through to be an educational ambassador.
That's gorgeous.
And we have had our trials and tribulations, and we have learned a lot from each other. And so I commemorated her this past June as being my teacher. So I put her on my left side, and so she's always on my left side, whether she's on my glove or not.
Oh, that's wonderful. And we will be showing pictures of Vega in our show notes for the show so people can see what she looks like, and we'll try to get a picture of your tattoo.
You got it. We'll make it happen.
So I know it's been a long day and stuff, but I wanted people to find out, like, where can they reach you? You know, how can they learn more about what you do?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
NorthSkyRaptor.org is our website. It keeps, mostly up to date with all of our content, all of our stuff that we offer as far as organizational stuff and programming and things like that. We do Zoom programs because I know we just came off a weird year. Yep. So we had to train the birds to look into cameras and to screens. So that was a whole nother thing. But you know what? We're good at it now. So that works. So we offer lots of different programming options to stay up to date with our current caseload and our animals in care. That would be our Facebook page. And I believe that is also at North Sky Raptor.
Terrific. Yeah, and so I love that, you just did this private event for friends and family for us, and it was wonderful. So I think it's a great way for people to learn. Yeah.
Oh,
and you
good.
Can feel
Thank
the
you for
feathers.
having me.
Yeah. And you have a wonderful volunteer here as well.
Oh, yes. And the prerequisite for coming to programs is the ability to either run a camera or keep me on time. So either one of those works. Yeah. And because, I'm a tactile learner, so I need to touch things. And because we can't allow the public to touch the raptors for safety reasons, and also, we like to respect the raptors' boundaries, we do have taxidermied items that are available for touching and manipulating because I learn best that way. And so it was really important because, we cover all the other learning bits in our programming, especially your school programming, that I wanted to make sure that we also included that bit that's missing.
Yeah, definitely. Well, great. Well, I really appreciate all you do for our raptors.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, and you're just a great ambassador to educate people, I think, and get people enthusiastic. I think it's wonderful.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So thank you for joining us today, and I wish you the best. And thank you
so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Well, folks, that is today's show and our 100th episode. Yay, we made it. I hope you enjoyed it. I had a great time. Please visit northskyraptor.org to learn more, schedule an event, and donate to the cause, all of the above. So a nonprofit rehabber's life is not easy. And, I found a little bit, I'm going to share what was summarized on North Sky Raptor's Instagram page of what they do daily during a summer season. And keep in mind that Kaitlyn and her husband both have full-time jobs on top of all this. So in the summer, they can expect to get at least 2 phone calls a day about a raptor in need of their care. Each day, there is 2 hours of diet prep, feeding, and cleaning, and then there's flight conditioning for another maybe 1 to 2 hours. Then there may be wound care and rebandaging or hunt training, and for those animals that are going to be released. And then there's educational programs like the one my family and friends and I did, and or at a school. So not to mention they keep up regularly with social media postings and are great at answering questions from people like me who post a lot of questions or comments on their Instagram. So basically, I am saying North Sky Raptor Sanctuary and rehabilitation centers across the country need our help to continue the hard work that they do to keep our wild animals in the wild. So thank you, Kaitlyn, Shelley, and Vega and Sprocket for all you do in educating people about rehabbing raptors. And, I think it's just important, please support your local rehab center. Please support North Sky Raptors because it is not easy work. So again, visit northskyraptor.org and check out more podcasts like this at BeProvided.com. And today's theme music was licensed by Soundstripe.com. It's called Red Hot Mama by Liberty. And I am Marcia Civic, and this is BeProvided Conservation Radio. Thanks for listening, and stay safe and healthy. And here's to you, Vega, our favorite Red Hot Mama.
Red hot mama, you're the one we need. Red hot mama, some charmer, yes indeed. They say that I should be in the follies, hot tamales. Say that I got a pair of eyes just like old Svengali. I confess that I possess the sweetest charms in town. And unless I miss my guess, the boys all follow me around. I could make a music master drop his fiddle.